This coming week, actually this weekend, we are about to begin one of the high seasons when it comes to Jewish weddings. You know, there are times in the year in which everyone wants to get married. One of those times is before the summer, and the other time is right after high holidays, because there are long periods of times in which weddings are complicated. In this part of the year, the reason why it's complicated is because of the counting of the Omer. The counting of the Omer is a period of mourning in which we mourn the passing of 24,000 students that a famous rabbi named Rabbi Akiva had, and his students all died during the counting of the Omer, with the exception of the 33rd day of the Omer. And since then, it became a custom, a tradition, to observe mourning customs during the days of the Omer and to interrupt those customs on the 33rd day, on Lag BaOmer, which is the day that we are concluding now, and then to start rejoicing again. Actually, I was looking in my social media feed about weddings that took place in Israel last night. There was a fascinating video, I don't know how many of you had the chance to see it, of a couple that is getting married and they are dancing and the sirens go off and everyone runs to the shelter and they continue singing and dancing non-stop. The music doesn't stop and they continue the party in the shelter for a couple of minutes, and then they go back to the dance floor, and the song that they were singing was a song that says, Lo lefached, we're not afraid, we're not scared. And I believe that's a very powerful metaphor for the times that we are going through and the Jewish recipe for surviving through times like this. Because if I have to look back the past almost 2 years, the past year and a half, I think we have sung more than ever. If I look at the programming of our synagogue alone, the concerts that we held and the artists that we invited, and if I look at the new songs that were released after October 7th and that everyone sings and everyone knows, like Hurricane and Am Yisrael Chai and all these, if I look at the concerts of Israeli artists that came to Miami in the past almost 2 years, it is unbelievable how our people has the ability to sing in the midst of war, catastrophe, and tragedy. And I think it is not a coincidence, it is actually the way we have survived through the most terrible times in our history. Not long ago, I was listening to a very talented colleague. Her name is Tamar Elad Appelbaum, real teacher of Jewish spirituality and inspiration to many of us. She's a rabbi in Jerusalem, and she was making a connection between the word magen, which means shield, and the word nigun, which means song and melody. And when we say that God is the protection of Israel, we're also saying that God is the melody that enables Israel to survive through its most difficult moments in history. And by Israel, I not only mean Israel the state, the sovereign country, Israel, all of us, Israel, the Jewish community, the sons of Israel, the children of Israel. And I believe that this week's Parsha, with all the list of the holidays that we are going to read tomorrow morning, is precisely the key to our salvation. Because, you know, other nations, other countries, they start creating holidays as joyous and happy events happen. But in the Torah, the holidays are there from the beginning and are not a suggestion, are not like, well, if you are in the mood for this, maybe you should party. I haven't researched this, but I would love to know, how did our country celebrate, for example, the 4th of July during difficult times? I can guess that they didn't throw a big party, because they said, maybe we are at war, it's a difficult time, this year we are going to stop, we're going to cancel, you know, maybe after 9/11 or after other difficult times, we hit the pause button on celebrations and we say this is not the year to celebrate. But since the Jewish holidays are prescribed in the Torah, since Lag BaOmer happens every year on the 33rd day of the Omer, regardless of whether we are in a period of mourning or not, then we are encouraged not to wait in order to celebrate. The Jewish people doesn't wait until darkness is over to pull out the musical instruments and start dancing. All the couples that got married yesterday in Israel, and you're going to see this weekend here in Miami, full of weddings. Actually, I'm going to be away on Thursday. I have a wedding, dear members of our synagogue in New York, and then Rabbi Berkun has a wedding the weekend in California. We're full of weddings. And no one is saying, this is not the time for rejoicing. No one is saying, let's tone it down, let's postpone, this is not the time of singing. I actually believe that what we are saying is, precisely because we are going through difficult times, we need to sing more. We need to dance more. We need to celebrate even more. Because it is that music, that melody, that ability to rejoice, to raise our glasses and say L'chaim, what keeps our people alive. Is the ability to run to a shelter to protect our lives without stop singing even for a second. What has kept our people alive throughout the generations and what will continue to keep our people alive. Many of you know, 2 weeks ago, I was marching the March of the Living in Poland. And it never ceases to amaze me as I walk through the streets of Warsaw when the guide tells me, you know, there was the theater of the ghetto. There was the place where the choir of the ghetto used to meet. So wait a second, we're talking about children being smuggled in bags outside of the walls, and they had a choir? Yes, yeah, they had a choir. We're talking about people being shot on the streets or starving to death, and they wrote songs during those same days. They had arkadot, they had dancing parties to dance Israeli folk dances in the middle of the horror. People sometimes smuggled violins into Auschwitz. It is not a coincidence that we are seeing these days again another Israeli shining at Eurovision, just like that last year. Because it is through music and through singing, it is through the courage to celebrate, even in the darkest moments of our history, that our people has ensured its survival in the past, and we are going to continue moving forward. May we always find the Lag BaOmer in our lives. May we always find the moment to interrupt our sobbing, our crying, our lamenting, and enable ourselves before difficult times are over to start singing.